So our lawmakers are now demanding the Treasury Department investigate Ireland. Why? Now, did Ireland attack America? Did they harm our citizens? Did they threaten our interests? No. Ireland dared to boycott Israeli goods, and now our government wants to punish them for it. Make that make sense. This is the letter that that Congress sent to the Honorable Scott Bessent, the Department of Treasury, saying, "Dear Secretary Bessent, we write to express our serious concerns regarding recent proposals by the government of Ireland to boycott Israel and urge the department to examine the implications of the proposal under U.S. law. Section 999 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, commonly referred to as the Ribicoff Amendment, reflects the United States' bipartisan commitment to opposing foreign boycotts against friendly nations, particularly those aimed at Israel. Under this law, the Treasury Department is required to maintain a list of countries that condition commercial participation in compliance with an unsanctioned international boycott. It goes on to say, and it goes on to explain that last month, Ireland said that they're going to be boycotting Israeli goods, and that this measure is part of a broader effort with BDS, which is the Boycott, Divest, and Sanctions Movement. And it says it says that such policies not only promote economic discrimination, but also create legal uncertainty for U.S. companies operating in Ireland. And we encourage the Treasury Department to assess whether Ireland's proposals indicate that they require or may require participation in or encouragement of an international boycott within, basically, we're going to go after Ireland. We can't believe that they're doing this. How dare they boycott Israel? Yada, yada, yada. This is all bad. So first of all, let's break down the Ribicoff Amendment that they're citing. They're saying Section 999 of the Internal Revenue Code, commonly referred to as the Ribicoff Amendment. Now, this amendment was originally added back in the 70s, and the point of it was to help people emigrate out of the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union was making it difficult for certain people to get out, and the United States claimed it was human rights abuses and said, all right, we're now going to have a law that basically we're going to be against you if you're a country that commits human rights abuses and doesn't let people flee, essentially, is why that amendment was created. However, it was since modified. I mean, obviously, since the fall of the USSR, they didn't really need it anymore. So they kept it rather than just get rid of it. They kept it, but they modified it. And drastically, and they modified it to drastically basically say foreign countries are not allowed to boycott Israel. I mean, that's what it says. You're not allowed to boycott Israel. I mean, this is a law in U.S. code that is specifically protecting Israel. It doesn't say you're not allowed to boycott the United States or just Israel. That's it. Now, what's interesting about this, so they're citing this and saying, hey, Ireland is now boycotting Israeli goods. This is against U.S. code because our laws are built to protect Israel, obviously. And so this is a problem. And they say this is a problem in particular for U.S. companies operating in Ireland. Now, why would it be a problem for U.S. companies operating in Ireland? Because the U.S. companies that are there are now going to have to choose between Irish law and American law. So if Ireland says we're boycotting Israeli goods and you're not allowed to now ship goods or sell goods off to these regions that we've decided or buy goods from these regions, then you're breaking the law in Ireland and your company is in Ireland. So you're going to have a problem with Ireland. But the United States, because we have this weird protectionist law for Israel, suddenly the U.S. company finds itself in a bind because American law says you're not allowed to boycott Israel. So if you're an American company, you're either going to break the law in Ireland or you're going to break an American law. And that's why it puts U.S. companies in a bind. Now, what's interesting is that these congressional members put that in this letter, like, well, this creates a conflict for American. Yeah, because you created the conflict for them. There would be no conflict if you didn't create it. Now, it's one thing if Ireland says we're boycotting America, and then American companies have to say, well, then we have a choice to make. We might not be able to operate here because we're American companies, right? That's one thing. And that's fair to say, yeah, you can't boycott my country and have me continue to operate here. But the United States is saying to these American companies, you can't operate in Ireland because Ireland wants to boycott Israel, a foreign country that is like 8,000 miles away from us or 6,000 miles away from us, whatever. I mean, this is just the absurdity of this. It couldn't become more blatant that our government is completely and totally and utterly at the behest of Israel. Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the few that's actually pointing this out, her and Thomas Massey, but she's really been out there on the forefront, very much pointing at Israel And if I, look, I've never really been a one issue voter, but I think I'm becoming a one issue voter because we can't, what kind of a country do we have if it's completely overtaken by another country? If our country is completely on the take, not sovereign, that's the only thing that matters. We have to get our sovereignty back. And then from there, we can fight amongst ourselves about all the various different issues that we have in this country. But right now, I think the single only issue that every single American should care about is, are we on the take? Is our country completely at the behest of a foreign nation? Are we blackmailed into supporting a foreign nation? And if that's the case, that has got to be our only issue. It's like the Revolutionary War all over again. The only issue, you had all these guys coming together and they were just fighting the monarchy. That's what they were doing. They were fighting the crown, and they put all their differences aside and they said, we've got one issue and one issue right now, and that is the British, and we want our independence. And we as Americans kind of have to get to that point right now where we say, you know what? Everything else just needs to be put aside. We need our independence because clearly we're no longer an independent nation. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling that out. She tweeted this. She's actually the one that brought us to the attention of this congressional letter and of them going after Ireland because of Ireland going after Israel, which, by the way, Ireland's an ally of the United States, but apparently not as much as Israel. Ireland's actually provided us troops, I believe, in certain conflicts. Israel's never given us troops. Irish have fought alongside our American troops, have died alongside American troops. Where have the Israelis been? Anyway, she tweets out, what is happening? America's economic power and success should not be used as a blunt force weapon against other countries on behalf of Israel's economy. And I'm a big supporter of Secretary Bessent as he's working hard to level the playing field for America. But Congress, who is overwhelmingly controlled by multiple foreign governments, especially the secular government of Israel, is fighting for Israel first. I'll give you an example. I'm in Texas visiting family, and I've talked to a lot of people here. Beef is at an all-time high. And I'm happy for those cattle ranchers because they got hurt a few years back from a big drought. However, that is hitting people hard at the checkout line in the grocery stores. The average American is barely getting by, and this is what Congress should be fighting for. My confused colleagues are blinded and have forgotten that their job title is representative in the United States House of Representatives. Wake up, she says. And here she is talking on Matt Gaetz' show. Matt Gaetz, unfortunately, no longer a member of Congress, would have been a much, much, much better attorney general than Pam Bondi by a million years. And there's a reason why he's not the attorney general, as you can see now, since we're not getting anything from Pam Bondi except a bunch of bullshit. Here is Marjorie Taylor Greene on Matt Gaetz' show saying, yeah, our government is totally occupied by Israel. Watch this.
I would proffer that about 75% of the Republican majority is beholden to AIPAC in their votes on these questions. Do you think that percentage is too high or too low?
Actually, I think it's much higher. I introduced amendments in our Department of Defense appropriations bill, and I introduced one to defund the $500 million to Israel. And there were only 6 members of Congress that voted for my amendment. So out of the whole of Congress, there were only 2 Republicans that voted for that amendment. That was myself and Thomas Massey, who, by the way, both of us take $0 from AIPAC. Here's the reality of the situation, Matt, and I'll say this as straight and honest as I can, is it feels like our government is occupied because our government tiptoes, every member of Congress tiptoes, the administration, whether it's Democrat or Republican, tiptoes around and obeys and gives Israel every wish that they demand, to the point of fighting foreign wars for them.
Why?
Let me tell you something.
Why?
For one verse in Genesis, they are all held and beholden to the verse in Genesis that says, bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. Well, God was talking to Abraham. He wasn't talking to the secular government of Israel. And Christians today need to wake up to that. I'm a Christian.
They picked that one line in the whole Bible to be like entirely beholden to, because I don't know that it's like the rest of the book that exactly has ensorcelled like the folks in the United States Congress.
Yeah, so go ahead and just support Israel even when they committed genocide and massacre children, and you'll be blessed, says God. So they claim. Yeah, that total misinterpretation and a lack of historical knowledge. Anyway, here's Ari Ben Benashi. So Marjorie Taylor Greene saying we're completely occupied. I agree, we're completely occupied. It's really obvious. It's getting more and more obvious every single day. But Ari Ben-Menashe, he's a former Israeli intelligence officer. He claims Netanyahu is actually blackmailing President Trump, and that the release of the birthday letter, remember the birthday letter that Trump sent to Epstein, that was just recently discovered. Why was that recently discovered? Why was that recently released? Well, Ari Ben-Menashe says because it was released by the Israelis as a warning to Trump of, we got you, and you better do as we want and as we say, or else you're going to get it. Watch this.
I believe that the American government is sort of trapped by the Israelis. Jeffrey Epstein is one of their tools to trap them.
And what do you think of Dershowitz's denial?
Hold on a second. I want to give you an example. Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, Ehud Barak, met Arafat in the 90s, and there was no deal. The reason was Epstein. They were being blackmailed by Epstein. Ehud Barak was also a friend of Epstein, the prime minister of Israel at the time. But he was being blackmailed by the Israeli right wing as well. And they stopped an agreement with Arafat. They were about to reach an agreement there for a two-state solution, but that was stopped because of Epstein. They were both being blackmailed by Epstein.
And so Jeffrey Epstein, in a way, presumably being used as a tool by the Israelis, helped to change the course of history in this region I'm speaking to you from.
Of course, a change thing, and they trapped a number of U.S. presidents by using Jeffrey Epstein. And it wasn't only about sex, it was also the money issue. Where was the money coming from? But everything is stuck over Gaza. And I believe the Israelis have the American government captive due to what happens with Epstein, or what happened in the past with Epstein. Rupert Murdoch, newspaper, Wall Street Journal, put out that card or something, a birthday card Trump sent to Epstein. Where do you think they got it from? And I don't think Trump wants to continue this war or the genocide. I think it's the Israelis holding him back.
What is it they would have on him, do you think, that would make him go along with the genocide? I mean, Trump has shown time and time again he doesn't like death. I mean, he's expressed that over and over. He doesn't like to see death. He doesn't want to see war, and he doesn't want to see death. But suddenly, we're seeing him be all out for genocide and supporting the Israelis and whatever they want to do. And so I just wonder, what is it they have on him? It can't possibly be. I don't know if it is sex related. Maybe it is. Would Republicans, how? It's hard to know. Would Republicans, if it came out that he did have sex with somebody underage, that he'd have been abusing young girls, let's say, would Republicans believe it? Would the voters even believe it? And I don't know if they would. I don't know if they would believe it. So I don't know if there would be consequences for that. I think people would say it's a Democrat hoax, like whatever. So it's got to be, in my mind, something even bigger than that, because we've had a lot of sex scandals with Trump and he's been able to survive them. And it's easy to just say these are all a hoax unless there's actual videotapes. Even then, maybe there's videotapes. I mean, it was the Epstein blackmail operation, so certainly. But, maybe it's money related. Maybe it would be a complete loss of everything he has, or I don't know. Or it's somebody he loves. And I keep thinking that a lot of people are blackmailed through not anything they've done, but through something their loved one has done. And they will do anything to protect their loved ones. They'll do anything to protect their children. And we know that the Epstein blackmail ring oftentimes targeted the children of powerful people in order to because if you look at the list, I mean, if you look at the black book that's out there that Gawker put out years ago, you'll see the names of children and relatives of people in positions of power. And when you look at that and you see that, then you wonder, okay, that's an effective way to blackmail people. So I don't know. Hard to know what they have on them, but they clearly have something. And Ari Ben Menashe, who's a former Israeli intelligence officer, is saying they absolutely do, and he knows it. And meanwhile, they're gaslighting us, telling us, oh, the Epstein files, they're a hoax. We don't need to see them. But look at this. This was a poll that was put out by the Washington Post. This was from the end of July. This was aired on MSNBC. Everybody wants these damn files. Everybody. I mean, look at this. MAGA Republicans, 82%. Republicans who don't identify as MAGA, 83%. I don't know if there's a difference there. If MSNBC says, well, MAGA Republicans. Independents, 86%. Democrats, 90%. Everybody wants these files released. Everybody wants these files released because Democrats, maybe more of them want them released because they know, yeah, okay, Bill Clinton's going down, but so what? He's done. He's out of power. There's nothing. Hillary's not coming back. Bill's not coming back. So it doesn't matter if we throw Bill under the bus. Republicans have a little bit more to lose with Trump being in office, maybe others being in the files that are currently in power. Maybe Democrats have a similar situation, but whatever. So, but look, I mean, at the end of the day, the numbers are negligible. Everybody wants these damn files. Everybody wants these files. So the gaslighting of this is just a hoax, there's nothing to see here. No one's buying this. Absolutely no one is buying this. And no one should, because obviously our country's on the take. Obviously our government is not working for the American people. Another example of this, Jeanine Pirro, she is now, former Judge Jeanine Pirro, she is now the U.S. Attorney for D.C. She is now threatening Americans. She's actually threatening Americans with investigation. So it's not just Ireland that's going to be investigated for how dare you be anti-Israel. Americans are now being threatened with an investigation. She is talking about the very tragic and horrific murder of the two Israeli citizens. They were the couple that was murdered. She's referring, the conversation starts off with them. And of course, the person who did that should be held accountable, right? Anybody who commits murder should be held accountable. Of course, if there's blatant acts of racism or anti-Semitism, those people should be held accountable. Really, but when it comes to actually even hate crimes, I actually don't even like the term hate crime and adding on an extra level for hate crime. I just think you commit a crime, you should go to jail for that crime, and we should make the punishment harsh enough. It doesn't need to be added on because of your motive or your feeling or whatever. I mean, murder is murder is murder. But nonetheless, we all condemn that type of murder, that type of targeting. But now she's saying she's going to be going after and prosecuting anybody who's anti-Semitic with a vengeance. Watch this.
We have a problem with anti-Semitism in this country, and the statistics bear that out. And I think now more than ever, we are seeing increased numbers. So what does that mean? What it means, if you can get from, my tone, we're going to be very aggressive. You heard from the FBI, the MPD. We're going to look for these cases. We're going to prosecute these cases to the full force of the law. It's a problem, and we're not going to tolerate it. Anti-Semitism has historically been one of the biggest scabs in the world that keeps getting picked on and picked at. So from my perspective, I will go forward with every case with vengeance.
Okay, so she's saying that she's saying she's going to go forward and prosecute anybody who's anti-Semitic with a vengeance. What does anti-Semitism even mean? She's claiming that anti-Semitism has skyrocketed since October 7th. I believe that's true in every sense of the word. I think it's true in that they've changed the definitions and conflated being anti-Israel with anti-Semitic. I also think there's a surge in anti-Semitism. But the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, they're reporting a 361% surge in U.S. anti-Semitic incidents just in the 3 months following the conflict. They're saying 361% surge. But what do they claim is anti-Semitism? I mean, this is the problem. They're using a working definition, the IHRA's working definition, which says anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Okay, that would be anti-Semitism. Although I think you can not like a person's religion. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think you have to like religion or any religion. I think it's fair to say, I don't like Catholicism. I don't like Mormonism. I don't like Judaism. I don't like Islam. I think, fine, fair game. You don't have to like anybody's religion. But that is often conflated with anti-Semitism. It's like you're allowed to say that about any other religion, but you're not allowed to say that about Judaism, which I don't think is right. But if you hate the group of people, if you're like, I don't like these people because they're this, then that's going to lead to some problems. Then it says manifestations might include the targeting of the state of Israel. Oh, really? Okay. So anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews, and manifestations might include the targeting of the state of Israel, or maybe not. Maybe it's just a foreign country, and we're allowed to also not like a foreign country and the policies of a foreign country and the genocidal acts of a foreign country. Maybe we're just allowed to do that. But they're saying, no, criticism of Israel, similar to that leveled against any other country, cannot be. They're saying that is, well, this is somebody saying that it cannot be. Anyway, don't just forget that. That's what they're claiming their definition is. And the commission in Europe is saying, well, no, come on, it can't be actually regarded as anti-Semitism. But the IHRA is claiming that it is, and that is what the ADL uses, and that is what Jeanine Pirro is using as her reasoning for anti-Semitism has gone sky high. And so now you've got all these Americans like me or you or anybody else who's critical of Israel, and they could potentially get us. I mean, that is what Judge Jeanine Pirro or Attorney Jeanine Pirro is now claiming, is that she's going to be going after this with a vengeance. Why? It's again, any sort of crime against people, and for whatever your motivation, prosecute the crime. Fine. We're all for that. Prosecute the crime. But to create a crime and to say, oh, we just don't like your thoughts. You have thought crimes. And your thought crime is you're against the state of Israel. And we're now going to say that that's anti-Semitism. And it's a scourge in society and we have to get rid of it. It's a scourge. It's been going on for thousands of years and we got to get rid of it. Like as if anti-Semitism, there's this narrative that just humans just because for whatever reason, there's a separation between Jews and humans. I mean, that's the only implication when you kind of go down this logic. The logic being humans naturally are anti-Semitic, and that every so often it just rears its ugly head for no reason. And then we just have to like squash it. And that's the thinking, right? That's the thinking we've been hearing. Every so often, anti-Semitism just rears its ugly head because it's just naturally ingrained in all of you. Well, if it's naturally ingrained in all of us, and Jews are, so then that separates Jews from the rest of us, right? So that is claiming that there's two species of humans right there, saying that there's two different groups and that we're not the same. So these implications are not positive in any way, but that is what they're trying to claim, and it's just so completely categorically not true. But here we are. I mean, so the big question is, does the U.S. government work for Tel Aviv? And I think pretty obviously each day it's becoming clearer and clearer. The answer is yes. Hey guys, thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you could check out Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you there.